Since 1990, coho escapements on the east coast of Vancouver Island and in the Georgia Basin have been in decline to the point there is great concern about their sustainability. Believing that man can make a difference, in the summer of 2007, an immense project involving community partnerships was undertaken on an urban stream in the heart of the city of Nanaimo to help rebuild one salmon run. The Millstone is a 14-kilometer river that runs from Brannan Lake into the city of Nanaimo's inner harbor. The watershed encompasses an area of about 100 square kilometers, consisting of 26 streams, 16 tributaries, and 8 lakes. Coho salmon had been introduced into the Millstone in the early 1980s, but the Millstone River presented a migration problem.
We first saw a problem at the lower end of the river, and there was a long, solid rock face that the fish couldn't get up. So we got together and decided to blast some holes in the rock face and create stepping pools for the fish to get up as far as the falls.
And they built a major fishway at that location. Fish were able to get up to that point. There was another waterfall just above there. Work was done on it, but to this date, they have not been able to get over. We did smolt enumeration studies. These are migrating juveniles heading to the ocean. When we did those counts, we were able to determine that for every female that spawned in the system, about 200 smolts were produced. This is a very high production rate. So based on those figures, we strongly believe that this could become a self-sustaining run.
Plans to build additional fishways were abandoned as being too costly, estimated at about $750,000. Then in 2004, the Resource Restoration Division of Fisheries and Oceans took another look at the proposal and came up with the idea of creating a side channel through the park that could be built for less than half the original estimate.
The folks involved in this, and I really credit Mel Shang for this, very much thinking outside the box, saying, why do we have to keep working on what's already been put in? Because everyone's beating their head against the wall and saying, it's too expensive, can't be done. And to then look at a topog map and say, you know what, we can go around this.
Building the bypass channel through the 36-hectare city park was only possible because of the cooperative efforts of governments, community groups, industry, and individuals.
Working with fisheries, they showed us, what the upper Millstone could do if we could get past this impediment to the fish channel. So it's just a great salmon enhancement for the whole area, for the Bowen Park. It provided us a great opportunity to enhance a portion of the park that we hadn't utilized before, open up areas for recreational trails, and then also show how you can actually do something like this and make it look so natural as they're building it. And as you see through what these guys have done, it's just it looks like it's been here for quite a while. And in a few years, it'll look like this is natural. And it's always been this way. So we just think it's just a win-win for us.
Well, basically, our vision really talks about shared stewardship. So the Living Rivers program in Georgia Basin and Vancouver Island is looking for opportunities to invest in places like this where we can get the message of salmon across to people and do something good with the resource at the same time. So this project was particularly appealing to us because we could see some immediate fish benefits from doing it, coupled with the awareness of the resource and the awareness of the importance of water, which for us is so vital.
I think it's really important that the community people get involved with projects like this. It benefits the whole community, and it also gives a vested interest to the members of our organization who want to participate and make the park a better place for everyone, and also an educational program for the park itself. We put in approximately 3,000 volunteer hours by our members, and they're very enthusiastic about it. They want to participate. There'll be additional projects here as well.
We put in, we were asked to put in 4-hour shifts during the day. There would be a morning shift and an afternoon shift. And I kept track of what our members did, and it was over 98 shifts of 4 hours each.
The 800-meter channel was carved out of the park over about 4 months. Engineers designed the stream to not only offer a way for the salmon to make their way up to the rich watershed, but also to create new spawning areas and low gradient habitat with sufficient cover favored by juvenile coho. The challenge for engineers was to come up with a channel route through the park that was aesthetically pleasing and maintained the integrity of the landscape, but also had a gradient of no more than 5%, creating an incline the salmon could manage. The result was a long channel that meandered through the canopy of trees, and alongside it, a trail providing salmon viewing areas. The cost of the project reached about $350,000. At least another $100,000 was contributed through in-kind donations of material and labor.
It's amazing. You know, typically we deal with smaller projects because they're accessible and people don't get frightened by, you know, a $15,000 or a $10,000 or $20,000 project. When you see the scale of this and the work required, the rock blasting, the materials and that, it's easy to get overwhelmed for little groups and you kind of throw up your hands and say, this is something government should be doing. But you know what? Government isn't doing it, and that's not a criticism of them. They can't. They've got resource limitations. And so when you think that this is a community-led kind of thing, it's fantastic. It's amazing. It's huge.
All over Vancouver Island, we have situations where we have semi-urbanized areas or urbanized areas where salmon are trying to coexist with people. And by having an outstanding example here right in the city of Nanaimo, we can point to others. People always relate better to tangible things they've seen on the ground. They can come up here and say, hey, wow, well, maybe we could do something like this in some other community. Right?
I believe projects like this are very, very difficult to do without partnerships. And that's not only funding partnerships, it's also the stewardship partnerships. Without having a group take ownership of these types of projects, I really consider them failures.
Malaspina University College in Nanaimo is also involved. They'll be using the Millstone bypass channel as an educational tool.
We call it the outdoor classroom, and it's a great opportunity in the city to do field projects in conjunction with DFO. So we're doing everything from water quality monitoring to algae monitoring to colonization of invertebrates all the way up to the fish, which is what my class will do, and that's assess the adult salmon use of the channel. And so it's just the whole whole life cycle of a new stream, really, that the students can study from ground zero.
The day after water was released into the new Millstone bypass channel, Coho had begun using it. But the project doesn't end with the bypass channel. Developing a sustainable Coho run on the Millstone will depend on more than removing barriers to migration.
You know, the real crowning glory for Millstone would be to not only provide access for salmon, but to provide improved habitat conditions throughout the whole system. One of the most effective ways of doing that is by releasing more water from headwater lakes to augment those critically low summer flows that now occur naturally. Well, all we're doing right now is just looking at the network of headwater lakes and wetland areas to see what's possible in terms of storing small amounts of water in several locations and then strategically releasing that during the July to the end of September period when the Millstone gets so low in its lower reaches that it's essentially fishless. If we're looking at water scarcity in the years to come under a climate change scenario, all of those populations are going to be more at risk if we don't take a precautionary approach and start looking at what our options are now to adapt to that climate change.
Salmon aren't going to make it if they don't have people. And people are the key, and getting volunteerism and communities involved, that's the solution to salmon sustainability in the future. Getting people interested and motivated and active to do things like this.